So what does the yield keyword do? There's a really common pattern in programming where you have a function that takes a collection of data, does some processing on it, and returns a new collection where each element has been changed slightly. This is really common, shows up all the time. In Python, it often looks something like this. We'll have a function that takes some data, and we'll create a result list. This is an empty list initially. Then we're going to iterate through each item in that collection, do some sort of processing on it, and we'll then append it to the list and continue iterating. At the end of the function, then we return the entire list, and that gives us a new set of data at the end. So it's a multi-step process to go through and take a list of data, do some processing, and return a changed one. Now, there's some problems with this. It's one long operation. We don't get any of the values back until it's finished. If the collection is really big, we're going to have a second copy of it in memory before we can start doing any work on it. And it is just a slow process compared to what we really want to do, which is take each element and do some processing on it. So the yield keyword comes in for situations like this. Places where we don't want a temporary collection to store all the results in, places where we don't want to iterate many times before we return the value. And it also chains together in some very interesting ways if you pass the result of it into another function that's going to iterate over it. So let me first change this to show you how you would use yield in this case. You don't need the result list anymore, and we don't need to return it. At this line here, instead of appending, this is where we'll use the yield keyword. Yield in this position means when you get up to this line, take this value and send it out of the function as the next element in the sequence. As far as the call is concerned, if they're just iterating over it, they're getting each element in turn, and in this case, it's being yielded at this point. The function gets suspended. It sends the value out and it stops executing so that the person that called it can work with the data. When they're done with that element, they'll ask for the next one and the function will keep executing again. So it has some really nice benefits in that you don't have to allocate a big list for all the results. You don't have to process every element the first time through before you can start using the results of it. And because most cases are going to be iterating over it, you have better performance characteristics as well.